Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our match reaction show. Community Shield final. It's finished. Manchester City won. Manchester United won. Manchester City winning on penalties. They had to come twice from behind because they, of course, trailed in the game and then also trailed in the shootout, but they pulled it out. And I will say this right at the top. For me, I think the game turned the moment that Erik Ten Hag decided to bring on Jadon Sancho for Marcus Rashford. That is not to say that Marcus Rashford should have been taken off. I think Rashford should have been taken off a lot sooner than he was. I thought he was pretty poor today. But some players, they just cannot perform in certain situations. And I think Jadon Sancho and Wembley is one of those situations where a player can't perform. The moment he came on, I was like, this is where the game is. If United are going to lose it, they're going to lose it because Jadon Sancho's come on the field. And you just felt that little bit of vibe, that the negative vibe that comes in. The goal came from his side. It wasn't his fault. That City's goal wasn't his fault. But the goal came from his side, which is a bit sad to see. Again, Rico Lewis had the run. He made that pass to Bobb. Bobb, of course, put in a wonderful cross for Bernardo Silva to score. But it came from his side, and maybe he takes some blame for it, maybe he doesn't. I don't think he was necessarily at fault. I think Dalot was caught out of position. He didn't look very good at left back either. And then of course Pellistri, not being a right back at all, probably a specialist right back in that position, might have stopped Bernardo Silva from getting his head onto the ball. Pellistri couldn't do it, but at the end of the day, when he went to take his penalty, I knew he was going to miss. I think a lot of fans, and I've seen in certain forums as well, they're like, Sancho's going to miss. Like, if there was one player who's going to miss, it was going to be Sancho, and he did miss, and he missed his penalty. And I'm surprised why Maguire didn't take a penalty. Like, that's another question. Why did Harry Maguire not take a penalty? He takes very good penalties. He's taken some very high pressure ones, some very good ones, and yet he doesn't step up in the shootout ahead of Sancho, of Evans. It is, like I said, though, going back to Sancho, I think he was the reason, not at fault, and it would be simplistic to say he was the reason that they lost. But I feel that that bad karma, juju. If you believe in football superstition, then you will say that the moment he came on the field, United lost. And I think that for me is where I'm going with. That is not to say that City didn't play well or that City didn't deserve to win. I don't think either team really did enough to say they were clear winners. I think whoever won on the day, I think you could say that. I think both teams had very good chances. Both teams should have scored more goals than they did. It shouldn't have gone to penalties, for either team. But the fact is, it did go there, and then it's really pretty much a lottery where City, I think, just about did enough to get the win. But that is where for me the game changed. But talking about the goals itself, I thought Garnacho's goal was brilliant. It was a very good run that when he went past all three defenders, he took all three of them on and he scored a wonderful goal. United will hope that he can stay fit, because him and Ahmad, for me, it should be Ahmad and him starting up, as the two forwards. Whoever plays a striker, whether it's Haaland, Xerxes or false nine, those two have got to be the starters. We'll talk more about Sancho in a moment, because I think there's things to be talked about there. But just going to the goals itself, so I think that's got to be the forward line. Rashford, for me, I think he was absolutely disappointing today. Got two very good chances. We should have at least got saves out of it, and the second one he really should have scored, and he doesn't, because he's just not there mentally at the moment. But for me, I think Ahmad looked very lively. Garnacho looked very lively. Those are the two players that you've got to build around and say these are going to be our two sort of forwards going into the season. I don't think Ten Hag will do it. I think Rashford will start the next game against Fulham, probably because Garnacho is still a bit short of match fitness, maybe. But I think it will be a while before we see Garnacho and Ahmad playing together up top, which should happen right away. But I think that will take some time to happen. I thought Rashford was poor. But that goal was really good from Garnacho. That goal was really good. It's a little bit of a miss hit from Pellistri, but then it falls to Bruno. Bruno makes a very good pass to Garnacho. Garnacho just scores all by himself and scores a very good goal. And at that point, with 9-10 minutes left, you think Manchester United should win that game from there? Having 10 minutes left in a Community Shield game, you're not going to get too many. It's not that much time. They could have seen it out. The problem was, again, I don't know what happened and what went wrong, but it just felt like City were kind of falling away, and then United just let them back in with some very sloppy passing. That goal, though, was very good from Oscar Bobb, by the way. The run from Oscar Bobb is really good. The cross cutback, again, it's cutbacks. We keep talking about cutbacks all the time. United struggle with cutbacks. Again, they're struggling with cutbacks. It's a simple one. And if Haaland had scored that, I would have been like, okay, Haaland has scored it. But it goes to Silva. And it's just Pellistri is not a right back. He's not a right back. He's playing at right back. He did okay up until that point, but he was probably one of the culprits for that goal. And it's 1-1. And at 1-1, you generally expect that the team that has scored second goes on to win the penalty shootout. That is usually what happens, and it happened here. But again, United let City off the hook because Silva put in another poor penalty. which he had hit a very bad one at Real Madrid as well, and then he puts another one here. I think and that gave United the opening, because I didn't see when Onana made that save. I was like, that's a lucky one that he's got. I didn't see Onana making any saves in the shootout, so he made one, and he probably proved a few people wrong. But I didn't see him making any saves. I was like, if United are going to win this, City are going to have to miss one. And Ederson, I could see him making a save, although he did make one, but I saw him making a save or two. I couldn't see Onana making any saves, because I think after that first save, he kind of thought of himself as Van der Sar, or he thought of himself as some Buffon or something, where he's like, I'm gonna do all kinds of rubbish and all kinds of antics to try and put players off. And ultimately, that is what he paid the price for. I think if he had not done that, if he just focused on trying to understand what is happening, try and read the players, read the shots, what is happening, because there is a science to penalty shootout. A lot of people think that penalty shootouts are just somebody hit and hope. It's not. There's a lot of science that goes into it. There's a lot of mental psychology that goes into it, and goalkeepers, they can do well if they're put in that situation. Onana just wasn't. His head was gone. He was just like, whatever, I'll just go wherever. He was like almost like playing a lottery, where okay, this person has it left now, so I'll go right, and then I'll go right and left. He was just not reading the situation at all. And the worst part of it is, at least Ederson, he should have saved the one from Dalot, by the way, the penalty, but Dalot got lucky. Ederson was guessing right a couple of times. It was just the shots were really good and he was missing them. Onana was getting nowhere near it. He was just diving very quickly. He was making decisions very rash. And you're just hoping at that point that a City player will miss. And no City player missed. And then it came to Evans, and Evans missed. And you expect Evans to miss because he doesn't take penalties. What is interesting is that of the two players who missed for Manchester United, they were both British players. I mean, City, I don't think had any British players taking a penalty. United had two, and I felt at that point that the two misses is the British ones are the problem. And so I go back to saying why Sancho took one. Sancho should have taken one. It should have been Maguire who took it. Otherwise, you could have had Martinez and Casemiro. Just let them take it, and they could have won it. They wouldn't need to go to sudden net because they didn't need that. But Sancho, as soon as he stepped up, he didn't look like he was going to score. He looked like he was, a little bit nervous. Of course, Wembley playing on his mind from the Euros as well. You knew as a player, you knew he's coming on. Even in Weghorst, I thought, he might score. With Sancho, I was like, this guy's going to miss. If there's one player who's going to miss, it's going to be this guy. So I think Sancho's body language is a problem. As much as he might have said, yeah, I'm back, I'm committed, all of that, I still think he's not fully there. Part of it maybe because he realizes that now not only is he's probably fifth right now, if you think about it, because he's got Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad, and Anthony all ahead of him. And I think Sancho just realizes the writing on the wall that I'm going to be fifth choice, or I'm going to be playing out of position. He's not going to have to play a number 10. I don't think he can really play false 9, and I still would prefer Bruno over him at false 9 as well, if that's got to be. I thought Mount today did enough to convince me that he could be a number 10 sort of backup to Bruno. Not a great player. He's not going to replace Bruno anytime soon, but at least he can do a job when it's needed. So to me, I don't see where Sancho fits in. I think Sancho needs to go. I think he needs to go. It's plain and simple. It's not this game. I think he's been very average throughout preseason. He's got to go. Somebody who's had a big break. Throughout he's not had any summer tournaments to play. He should be fresh. He should be motivated. He should be fired up. He just looks lost out there. And this is a consistent problem with him. I think if he's not a starter, if he doesn't feel like he's going to start games, I just think his head drops. I do feel he's a player who's more suited to playing in Bundesliga or Serie A, like slower leagues where there's more time on the ball, there's more technical, thought needed. Whereas United don't play that way anyway. United don't play the way Sancho wants to play, and the Premier League doesn't really work for Sancho as a player as well. So I just don't see how he fits in. He's got to go. They've got to try and find a buyer for him, 30, 40, whatever. PSG are interested, send him to PSG. Find a way to sell him, because they need to get rid of him, because he's absolutely a liability and a waste of space. I think talking about Manchester United itself, I thought Dalot looked okay at right back, but then at left back, he wasn't so good. I was kind of hoping maybe he could be because with Mazraoui coming in, there will probably be a situation where Dalot is going to have to play left back a lot of games. So you need him to do well, because Shaw is, I don't know what's going to happen with Shaw. Malacia looks like he's gone out of commission again. So it is such a weird one. I thought Ahmad should have started the game. I'm surprised Ahmad didn't play at all today. I thought he looked okay in preseason and he was getting some game time. I thought he should have played today. Yes, Oscar Bobb did really well and probably one of the contenders for man of the match. But still would prove you would still rather have Amas on the left side than having Dalot or even Martinez. I thought Lisandro Martinez looked pretty bad as well at left back. So that left back is a problem. The left back position is a problem for Manchester United. In midfield, I think Mainoo did really well. And then he came off and United kind of lost. They scored after he went off, but I still feel that they lost a lot of control when he went off. Casemiro was surprisingly good today. I think the first 15-20, he looked a little bit rusty, but he kind of grew as the game went on. He looked very good today. Again, I think for me, Casemiro, as long as I think he's playing one game a week or so, I think he'll be okay. I don't think he's someone who can play 2-3 games a week. He can't do that anymore. But I think if you can get him to play one game a week, if you can have sufficient energetic players around him, I think he can do something still this season. But they might want an upgrade. I think they will definitely want an upgrade there. But I think it was okay. I think it was okay today, so no complaints. I think United as a whole played okay. I think they played okay, and that's what I would say. It was a good performance tactically. Tactically, I think they did very well against Manchester City, but they won't play like this every game anyway. I don't expect them to play like this every game, every game. They don't expect them to play this way, and so then that begs the question: when they have to be the ones to take the initiative, when they have to be the ones to attack, how much can they do? What can they do? And I think those are questions that I don't think these sort of games answer. We'll know more when they play against Fulham, I think, but the signs are there that they could challenge for top four. I still feel they won't finish top four this season. I think the depth just isn't there, but there are signs that they could do something this season. I think City, though, from City's point of view, I think if you go there, there are things to be addressed. Now, City have very high levels, right? But we're talking about levels. When you talk about Manchester United, there is a certain level of Manchester United, and there's Manchester United, then there's Manchester City. Manchester City have very high levels. And from those high levels, if we start talking, I think City were not at their very best today. And that could be because of preseason. It's a short preseason. A lot of players haven't gotten up to speed yet. There were quite a few players who probably won't play as much starting or coming on. So that those things will matter. But I just felt Manchester City as a whole didn't look as good today. I thought Haaland was once again anonymous in a big game. That is a concern. I think, as much as City might shrug it off and as much as Haaland might score 30, 40 goals again this season, the fact that he always seems to go missing in big games should be a cause of concern for City and City fans. It certainly would be for me. If I was a City fan, I'd be wondering what's going on. But it is a problem that exists. I thought Kovacic looked a bit rusty. I think a lot of their passing was off today. So Manchester City, which is surprising. The one thing you expect Manchester City to do well is pass well. They may not always score, the kind of goals that you expect them to score, or they might, sometimes appear a little bit toothless up front, but they always pass the ball very well. And today they just looked a bit rusty. Could be preseason rust, of course, could be. But I still felt that maybe City needed to show a little bit more dynamism. I don't think McAtee has done enough to sort of convince that he's going to be able to start ahead of someone like Foden or De Bruyne. I thought he was okay without being too spectacular. Same with O'Reilly. Again, young player, not going to go in on them, but you do wonder, where they fit into the scheme of things. I would say the same for Toby Collier as well. I don't think Toby Collier did anything for me to suggest, yeah, this guy could be, a midfielder who could break through. I don't think he looked that way. And which is why I was even more surprised that Ramos didn't start, because I would have liked to see him in this game to see how he stacks up against the very best. But not to be, I guess. Yeah, it's that with O'Reilly. I thought the defense was about okay. I think at times Ahmad exposed that issue with Guardiola and Doku, and again Doku I think had a lot of enterprise, showed a lot of energy, but just couldn't get that final shot away, or always at the last moment he would kind of panic. I'm interested to see what the future holds for Oscar Bobb. Now that Alvarez is gone, I think it opens up a spot for Bobb to come in and do well this season. Of course, he's going to have competition from Savinho as well. But I'm interested to see what Bobb can do. I think he was very good today. He's very enterprising. For me, Oscar Bobb, and then for Manchester United, Alejandro Garnacho. I think those will be the two players who could have big seasons. It's very hard to draw predictions or conclusions from Community Shield games, because things change so much over the course of a season. But I think for me, Oscar Bobb and I think Alejandro Garnacho on the other side, I think they'll be the ones to keep an eye on this season to see what they do. I would be interested to see how much Oscar Bobb plays. I think he'll get a lot more opportunities because of Alvarez leaving. He's a very, very dynamic player. He was very impressive for me today. Looked really good. I thought he was, of the three forward players, I think he was probably the best of the lot. As much as Doku, I think, showed a lot of enterprise and inventiveness, you always kind of felt like once he gets to the byline, what is he going to do? Once he gets into that sort of decisive position of shooting or passing, what is he going to do? And he almost always fluffed his lines. But I think Oscar Bobb had that one defining moment of quality. But even otherwise, I think he put some very good balls in that were just not picked up by Haaland, who was off color for whatever reason. But congratulations to Manchester City. A win is a win. Community Shield is, it's not really a trophy that you look back on with pride or fondness at the end of a season, but it's always good to win. It's always good to start your season with a trophy win. It's always good to start your season with the win. I think City probably would have wanted to win as well, because you wouldn't want to be going into a season with two back-to-back losses to Manchester United in two finals. So I think from City's point of view, they'll be very happy with the win. They'll be very happy with the result. From Manchester United point of view, I think it just probably shows that there are issues with depth for United, and I think the issue is that there are a lot of unwanted players that are still hanging around the squad, and you can't get rid of those players, so you have to play them. And when you have to play them, they often cost you games. So that is the moral thing for Manchester United, is they've got to find a way to offload Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho shouldn't be hanging around the squad. I'm also surprised he came on before Xerxes. Why Xerxes didn't come on and Jadon Sancho comes on? That to me is a weird one as well. I mean, surely, yes, I know you're trying to replace Rashford, who's playing on the left wing, but surely you've got to look at it. You maybe play Bruno on the left. He would have done a better job. I know, whatever the reason, I think Ten Hag is someone who picks up on these kind of signs usually. So what exactly is going on? Was there a directive for him to play Sancho, so maybe he gets some minutes and they can then offload him, get a better price for him? I'm not sure, but the fact that Sancho starts, or rather comes on over Xerxes in a game like this, to me that is a bad omen. And I hope we don't have to see too much of Sancho this season, because to me he just, Manchester United rather, if he goes and plays elsewhere, that's fine. But I hope United don't have to see too much of Sancho, because otherwise they'll be screwed. They will be screwed. But yeah, lots to look forward to this season. Anyway, like I said, congratulations to Manchester City. Well done. A trophy to start of the season, of course, maybe the first of many again. We'll do sort of Premier League previews as well going forward. But yeah, and it was a good game. It was a good game from both teams. I think ultimately it was very competitive. I think for United, it will feel like a defeat, because they should have won this game. When you lead 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, you're leading in a penalty shootout. To end up on the losing side is always difficult to take, particularly just because there was some stupidity from a couple of players. Like it was Onana and Sancho. If they had done more, they've done better, they wouldn't be in this position. But anyway, it is what it is. Share your thoughts on the game. Share your comments on the match. What did you think about the result? What did you think about United's performance? I thought they played well, but to me, I don't think this game tells us a lot, because this is not the sort of team that you're going to play every week. And for United to win, or to get into the top 4 positions next season, which will be the goal, the key issue is going to be how can they be proactive, and can they take the initiative against teams that will probably sit back and won't play like Manchester City play. But we'll know more when they play against Fulham. I think that will be the interesting one. Anyway, smash a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. Share your thoughts on the game, of course. Always love to hear your comments. Take care. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.